Okay. So let me repeat, make a note. So capacity to contract, according to section 10, an essential element of a valid contract is that the contracting parties must be competent to contract. And according to section 11, every person is competent to contract who is of the age of majority according to the law to which is subject, which I said the Majority Act 1875 or the Guardian and Ward Act, and who is of sound mind and is not disqualified. So who is not disqualified? Not disqualified from entering into contract under any law to which is subject or by any law to which is subject. So make a note. Let us first take up agreement with minor. What are the various aspects regarding agreement with minor? An agreement with the minor is void ab initio. There is a popular case law here. An agreement with the minor is void ab initio. An agreement with the minor is void ab initio. Void ab initio nale என்ன அர்த்தம்? An agreement with the minor void ab initio means right from beginning it is completely invalid. Nothing can validate an agreement with the minor. It is more an agreement than a contract. It's more an agreement than a contract. Clear? An agreement with the minor is void. The second point, a minor cannot ratify a contract on attaining the age of majority. A minor cannot ratify the contract on attaining the age of majority. What is called ratification? A minor cannot ratify a contract after attaining majority. This is a new term. Have you come across this term called ratification? Not change actually. Ratification means something to do later, approve it later, or make it good. When he was a minor, he is entered into an agreement, but after attaining majority, he cannot say whatever he did as a minor is valid, or he cannot approve it. No law will allow him to do that. So whatever he did as a minor still becomes void. You cannot enforce it in a court of law. Nothing can be done. So he cannot ratify it after attaining age of majority. He cannot validate it. He cannot approve it later. To give you an example, how to understand this ratification, your father gives you daily 100 rupees pocket money when you go to college. And he tells you you should only spend for so and so purposes. Maybe to have some coffee, snacks, bus fare, not for other things. But what you do one day, you go for a movie with your friends. And probably you came and told your father, see, I actually spent this 100 rupees on a movie. Can you ratify it? Can you approve it now? So the father, if it's kind enough, he'll say, okay, ratify, go ahead, no problem. Otherwise, you say, who asked you to do this? Why did you do this? What are you thinking about? All this. So it is sort of a seeking of an approval later or validating something done in the past in the future, in the later date. That can't be done. A minor agreement cannot be validated in the future. That is called ratification. Next, minor can be admitted to the benefits of partnership, but he cannot become a partner. Minor can be admitted to the benefits of partnership, but he cannot become a partner. The minor can be admitted to the benefits of partnership, but he cannot be a partner because he cannot enter into agreement or contract. As simple as that. Then what does it mean that he can be admitted to the benefits of partnership? It means that, carefully observe, I told you this example earlier. A, B, C are partners and B is minor son of C. A, B, C are partners in a firm and D is a minor son of C. As per terms of agreement, partnership deed, they agree that if any partner dies, his share will go to his son or wife or whoever it is. So he will be eligible for the benefits, share of profit or whatever, but he cannot become a partner. But after attaining age of majority, he can choose to become a partner. He has to decide whether to become a partner or not. That is something in detail we discuss in Partnership Act. Clear? So I hope you understood this. This is what we refer to as a minor can be admitted to the benefits of partnership, but he cannot be a partner. He cannot sign an agreement. Next, minor can act as an agent because he is only representing his principal. No, that is the point is a minor can be an agent. An agency relationship is something where a person who represents a principal. Now, if I am the principal, I want a minor to represent me for some transactions. I can engage him to do that. So he is only representing me. All the rights, obligations, everything is on me only. So no way the minor is connected with it. But he is only for a limited purpose. He has been appointed as an agent to carry an act on behalf of me. That is okay. Next, can a minor be a shareholder? Can a minor be a shareholder of a company? No, not at all, or possible, sir. Can a minor be a shareholder? A minor, whether he can be a shareholder of a company, what Srinidhi, you say it's no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other views on this? Okay, you are actually extending the same point that a minor can be a shareholder if he is going to act as an agent or a representative for his parents. That is fine. But there is nothing like that in shareholding actually. There's nothing like representing someone, etc. But rarely it happens, I do agree, but on a different context. But what your point is coming close to the answer again. Typically, a minor cannot subscribe for new shares in a company and become a shareholder. Because again, the same issue. It is like a contract only. When you're applying for shares, who is making offer? You are making an offer to purchase. But don't forget that. It's another good example. The company makes an invitation to offer. And you are making an offer. And it is up to the company to accept. So in the issue of shares, IPO only, IPO IPO initial public offering. When a company comes up with an IPO, it is the applicant who makes an offer to buy. And the application will be accepted by the company. So offer from me, acceptance by the company. Okay. So as a minor, he cannot enter into any agreement or contract. So where is the question of offer? Where is the question of acceptance? So minor cannot apply for shares, but he can become a shareholder on death of his father or some other reason where the share is actually transferred to minor. But interestingly, minor is only a shareholder for the purpose of holding the shares of father. But again, he cannot enter into any agreement or nothing. So that also means a minor cannot hold a partly paid share. A minor can hold a fully paid up share, which has got transferred to him or transmitted to him. Transfer is gift. Father is gifting shares to son. It's okay. Minor son. So he's like a beneficiary. or death of father, the shares gets ownership gets transferred to the son. Transmission, that is okay. So he still becomes a shareholder. So the point is very important is that minor can be a shareholder, but he cannot apply for and get shares. Or neither he can be a shareholder of a partly paid shares because he cannot be called upon to pay the balance. So make a note, a minor cannot subscribe for any shares. Neither he can hold any partly paid shares. Neither he can hold any partly paid shares. But he can be beneficiary by holding the share. Okay, so he can be a shareholder. He can hold shares in his name, but he cannot purchase or subscribe for shares. Can a minor be declared as an insolvent? What is insolvency? Correct. An insolvent is a person or an insolvent company, insolvent person. Generally, insolvency means inability to pay the debts. So Mr. X borrowed 10 lakhs. He doesn't have money to repay the 10 lakhs. Neither he has got assets to repay the 10 lakhs. So he will be declared as an insolvent. And if you file a case against him and the court tells him that he is an adjudged insolvent, that is, in fact, capacity to contract law, an adjudged insolvent cannot enter into contract. The disqualification part only, yeah. Other one of the disqualification is a person who has been declared insolvent by the court. He is called as adjudged insolvent. He cannot enter into any contract. So, can a minor be adjudged as an insolvent? The answer is no. Good. Why? Because there is no, he cannot enter into any form of a debt, contract, anything. So, where is the question of he being declared insolvent? So, minor cannot be declared as an insolvent because he doesn't have a capacity to even enter into contract. So, there's no question of borrowing, debt, etc. These are all we are talking about on an official basis, on a legal basis. Nothing like he is taking from his friend a loan. Can a minor take a loan from his friend on a social agreement basis? That is okay. It doesn't come under the purview of law at all. Okay, understood? Now, very importantly, a minor is liable for necessary supply to him. And interestingly, he is not personally liable, but his assets will be made liable. What does it mean? Very important point. So, minor is no way responsible for anything. He can always plead minority. He can say that, no, I am a minor, I don't know anything. Law cannot touch a minor. But the law says that whatever necessaries are supplied to a minor. For example, what is a necessary is another interesting part. A necessary or necessaries is something which is required by a person, which are basic requirements. So necessary in solve. Can you name what are all the basic necessaries for a minor? Generally speaking, food, clothing, education. Now, interestingly, when you talk of food, clothing, education, the term necessary can vary. In a hill station, a fur coat may be a necessary. Very interesting case laws are there. So, what is necessary depends on facts and circumstances of the case. It is not necessarily food, clothing, and education. It can be something beyond. Because that is considered to be as essential or necessary for a minor. Sometimes a vehicle may be a necessity for a minor. So, what is necessity is a little bit of a term which can vary from circumstance to circumstance. But if you are going to supply necessaries to your minor, to a minor, and the minor doesn't pay, you don't have anything to do with him. You cannot file a case against him. But only thing you have as a supplier of necessary is that you can have rights over his property, if any. If any. If a minor has got some property in his name, as father dies and property is coming to minor, etc., then the person who has supplied necessaries can claim money from that. But he cannot touch the minor. He cannot put him in jail or whatever. So make a note. The person who has supplied necessaries to a minor can recover it from his assets, can recover it from the assets of the minor, but cannot make a minor personally liable. So a person who has supplied necessaries can recover the amount from him, from his assets, if any, but he cannot make a minor personally liable. Clear? Now, very, very important, if my memory is right, in the recent exam, May 22 exam, I think there is a question on agreement with the minor or something. So again, I told you yesterday also to go through the past question paper. I don't know how many of you have done that. It's all in our mobile app. In our mobile app, I have shared the recent law question paper. So kindly go through that. Okay. Now at the foundation level, carefully understand. CC mostly MCQ da, but foundation level they may ask some case-based questions. Case-based questions are very simple. They will give you a case scenario. Mr. X, a minor, he was staying in so and so place. So they'll build up a short story. And he borrowed money for this purpose, etc., etc. He bought necessaries. And they'll ask you to conclude whether a minor is liable, etc. So instead of asking you a direct question, they are putting a question indirectly in a form of a case. Now, what you all need to build up a skill is ability to read a para properly. Comprehension உங்க ஸ்கூல்ல உண்டு தெரியுமா? ஸ்கூல்லலாம் ஒரு பேரா கொடுப்பாங்க, அதை படிச்சுட்டு அதுல கொஸ்டின்ஸ் கேட்பாங்க. ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி கொஸ்டின் தனித்தனியாக கேட்க மாட்டாங்க, அதுதான் வித்தியாசம். They'll give a comprehension. CBSE ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் பிஸ்னஸ் ஸ்டடிஸ் பார்த்தா எனக்கே தலை சுத்தும், கச்சா முச்சான்னு கேட்டு வச்சிருப்பாங்க. ஸ்டேட் போர்டுக்கு உண்டான்னு தெரியல காம்ப்ரஹென்ஷன்லாம், ஐ மீன் பிஸ்னஸ் ஸ்டடீஸ்ல. English, yeah. Not in business studies. English there too. So, all of you should build up the skill to patiently read that paragraph. Simple. You read that question once, twice, you will get the answer. So, you shouldn't panic. You shouldn't get worried. You are developers. Developers are none. And the poruma, that the patience is required today. Because we are all using mobile phone where you will not believe. It is rather, I don't know whether it is something funny to tell or it's something very feeling bad about it. If I am posting a video in a YouTube, some of you would have seen my YouTube videos. All of you have subscribed for my YouTube. Yesterday I was telling you, YouTube, have you subscribed? All of you? I don't have, I'll send you the link. Subscribe for it. We have some videos in it. You will be surprised that what is the, for example, let us say I put a video on how to prepare for exams. It's a 15 minutes video. You know what is the average time seen by people? 15 minutes video. நீங்க போய் இந்த வீடியோ கிளிக் பண்றீங்க. Click பண்ணி you have to see the 15 minutes. That's the ideal thing to do. But you know what is the average time seen by people? ஏன்னா ஒரு analytics வரும் அதுல. The average time this video has been seen. அப்படின்ட்டு. Can you make a guess? 15 minutes video, what is the average time people are seeing? 5 to 10 minutes? 5, 8 hours. 5 to 8 minutes. 2 to 5 minutes. Any guess? 5 to 7 minutes. 1 to 5. 1 to 7. 1 to 7. So, students don't have the patience to see a video for 15 minutes. Today, if you switch on your phone, you have Instagram Reels, which runs for how many seconds? 30 seconds. Even that students or people flip through. That is the world today. நீங்க எங்க ஒரு பேராகிராஃப் 5 நிமிஷம் டைம் ஸ்பெண்ட் பண்ணி படிக்க போறீங்க? Understand? I'm telling you an important point. So you need to build up that skill to read a para calmly, understand the requirements of the question, apply what you have learned, and bring out a conclusion. So when you write an answer, I'm telling you straight away, you need to bring reference of various provisions of the Act, according to section 10 so and so, according to section 11 so and so. Consequently, a minor agreement is void ab initio. Mohiri Bibi versus Damodar Ghosh. இந்த கேஸ்ல எழுதினேன்னா இந்த கேஸ்ல என்ன சொல்லியிருக்கான்? An agreement with the minor is void ab initio. Mohiri Bibi versus make a note of this popular case law. In this case law, only the court decided that an agreement with or by a minor is void ab initio. Mohiri Bibi versus Dharmadas Ghosh. So, when you write an answer, you give reference of this case law. As long as you find some close relevance for the answer question, you write it. So, don't hesitate to write things which are somehow have relevance to that answer question. கண்டிப்பா எழுதணும். அந்த கொஸ்டினுக்கும் இதுக்கும் சம்பந்தமே இல்லைன்னா எழுதாது. ஒரு மைனர்னு வந்தாலே இதை நீங்க தைரியமா கோட் பண்ணலாம் எந்த கொஸ்டினுக்கு வேணாலும். If you see minor in the question paper, you can very well quote this case law. So many of us don't do that. That's the problem. I told yesterday also the same issue. இந்த கொஸ்டின் வருமா வராதான்னு எதுக்கு ரொம்ப பெருசாலாம் யோசிக்காதீங்க. ஆமா இதுக்கு சம்திங் மைனர்னால இது இருக்குல்ல. Why are you hesitant? So this is what is meant as case-based questions. So instead of specifically training you on that, we will do something of that nature, but I want you to bear in mind how to write an answer for that. So read, interpret, understand it well, apply the provisions relevant for that, bring out the provisions, quote that provision, conclude it. Full marks for that. But that means you have to really read between lines and understand the requirement of the question correctly. ஏன்னா நிறைய அதுல வந்து பார்த்தா simply they'll put according to the provisions of the Contract Act, conclude. So they will not even tell what is the provision applicable, or you have to decipher it. So that skill you have to build up. So go through all past question papers. You will have sample papers. In institute website, you have something called Board of Studies இருக்கும். அதுல உள்ள போனீங்கன்னா study material இருக்கும். அதுக்கப்புறம் உள்ள போனீங்கன்னா you will have suggested answers for past question papers. Go through that. உங்களுக்கு சிசிக்கு அன்பார்ச்சுனேட்லி ஓப்பன்ல எந்த கொஸ்டின் பேப்பருமே கிடையாது, எல்லாமே ஆன்லைன். ஸோ சாம்பிள் பேப்பர் நாங்கள் தருவோம், அதை வச்சு நீங்கள் போட்டுக்கலாம். ஆனால் உங்களுக்கு லக்கிலி எல்லாமே எம்சிக்யூ, அதுலேயும் இந்த மாதிரி சில கேஸ் பேஸ் வந்ததுன்னா நீங்கள் அப்ளை பண்ணி எழுதணும். ஆனால் ஒரு கேஸ் கொஸ்டின் கொடுத்து கூட they can ask MCQ. Understood all of you? So are you all clear about what is the position in law regarding agreement with or by minor? Okay, now let's move on. Let's move on to section 12 to discuss about persons of unsound mind. persons of unsound mind. According to section 12 of the Indian Contract Act, a person is said to be of sound mind. A person is said to be of sound mind. According to section 12 of the Indian Contract Act, a person is said to be of sound mind for the purpose of making a contract. For the purpose of making a contract, if at the time when he makes it, if at the time when he makes it, he is capable of A, understand the terms of contract, B, understand the terms of contract, B, to form a rational judgment as to its effect upon his interest. To form a rational judgment as to its effect upon his interest. So what is it? So he's able to make use the word rational. So he is form a rational judgment, decision regarding what will be the effect upon his interest and artham, whether it's good or bad. Correct? A person who is usually of unsound mind, continue, a person who is usually of unsound mind, but occasionally of sound mind, may make a contract when he is of sound mind. May make a contract when he is of sound mind. A person who is usually of unsound mind, but occasionally of sound mind, can make a contract when he is of sound mind. Who is that person? Who is usually of unsound mind, but occasionally of sound mind? That is lunatic. Tamil loose. So loose or lunatic is a person who is occasionally of sound mind. Understood? So as a corollary, a person who is usually of sound mind, but occasionally of unsound mind, cannot enter into contract when he is of unsound mind. A person who is usually of sound mind, but occasionally of unsound mind, cannot enter into contract when he is of unsound mind. For example, exactly, a drunkard or a person who is in the influence of drugs. These are all the people who are usually of sound mind, but occasionally of unsound mind. So they cannot enter into contract when they are of unsound mind. Clear? Srinidhi, any doubts?
No, sir, no doubts.
Clear? Okay, good. So all of you are clear? The example, drunkard and a person under influence of drugs, etc., cannot enter into a contract at the time. Now there is something called burden of proof. What is this called? Who should prove that while entering into contract he was of a sound mind or unsound mind? So very important. See, in any case, there is something called burden of proof. If you have to establish something, that means you have the burden of proof. இப்போ நான் ஒருத்தருக்கு கடன் கொடுத்துருக்கேன் 1,00,000 ரூபா, அவர் எனக்கு திருப்பி கட்ட மாட்டேங்கிறாரு, கோர்ட்டு கேஸ் போடுது. At that time, who should prove that I gave him the loan when he is of sound mind? I should prove or he will prove? I should only prove to the court. The burden of proof is on me. to prove that when I gave the loan, he was of sound mind. He was not drunk. So he knows very clearly that he has borrowed, but he's not repaying the loan. But he will tell, no, no, at the time I was drunk. I was not even aware. You cheated me, blah, blah, blah. So this is the case. Correct? So make a note, the burden of proof when a person is usually of sound mind, normal person, the burden of proving that he was of unsound mind at the time of contract lies with the person who challenges the validity of contract. So who challenges the validity of contract? So either he challenges it or I am challenging. So if he is going to challenge, then he should only prove at the time I was drunk. See, very important point. In any case law, there are two parties involved. One person is called a person who files a case. Okay, so a person who files a case and a person who responds. A person who files a case. அதுக்கு ஏதோ ஒரு பேர் உண்டு, டக்குனு I'm not able to recollect that. Defendant and okay, don't worry. In any case, there are two parties. A person who files a case and a person who defends it. It's a respondent or defendant. So who is going to file a case is very important. If I am going to file a case for recovering my money, I should prove that he was normal. But if he is going to file a case on me saying that no, at the time he cheated me, I was drunk, then he only has to prove to the court. So that is the important point. I hope you are understanding the case. So it depends on a case who is filing the case. Okay. So he only has to prove. So in this case, a person of usually of sound mind, but occasionally of unsound mind, the burden of proving that he was of unsound mind when the contract was entered into lies with the person who challenges the validity of contract. Okay. Sometimes you may challenge it or sometimes the other person may challenge. The next point, where a person is usually of unsound mind, I think this is called a claimant and parent. Claimant. Dependent. When a person is usually of unsound mind, the burden of proving that he was of sound mind the burden of proof that he was of sound mind at the time of contract. Plaintiff, yeah, that's the word. So make a note of this word. Plaintiff. Plaintiff defendant. The person who files the case is called plaintiff. The person who defends the case is called defendant or claimant or respondent. So now let me repeat this point. The burden of proving that he was of sound mind at the time of contract lies with the person who affirms it, who confirms it, who confirms it. All of you clear? Any doubts at this stage? Then next is person disqualified by law. The persons who are all disqualified by law and who cannot enter into contract. One, alien enemy. Alien enemy is a person belonging to a country with whom our country is in war. Alien enemy is a person who belongs to a country with which we are in war. Our country is in war. A contract cannot be entered into with an alien enemy. You cannot enter into a contract with an alien enemy. A contract cannot be entered into with an alien enemy. However, a contract cannot be entered into with an alien enemy because he is disqualified. However, any contract entered into before the war will be suspended. If it's a normal contract, will be suspended if it is a normal contract, and it will be cancelled if it is against public policy or opposed to public policy. Such contracts will be cancelled if it is opposed to public policy. So there are two things. One is either it can be suspended, or secondly, it can be cancelled. So when we say suspended, after the war is over, a suspended contract can be resumed. So the whole contract, after the war is over and everything is, let us say the countries are coming into some sort of a agreement, then the war is over. Then the contract will resume. Suspension temporary hold பண்றது. வாரே முடியலன்னா அவ்வளவுதான். Yeah? So alien enemy you cannot enter into contract. Second, convicts. No convict can enter into contract when he is in the period of sentence. அதாவது term of sentence ஜெயில 5 வருஷம் போட்டாங்க, அந்த 5 வருஷத்தை he cannot enter into contract. A convict cannot enter into contract when he is going through the period of sentence. இங்க சென்டென்ஸ்க்கு வேற மீனிங். சென்டென்ஸ்னா the punishment. And after expiry of that conviction period, he will be eligible to enter into contract. Sometimes the court will give parole, giving a limited validity, during which whatever he is doing is valid. Parole no undu. Parole ங்கிறது, for example, ஒருத்தர் insolvent declare ஆயிடுத்து, அவருக்கு he is cheated somebody and they put him on jail or whatever. But there is something which came up later where he has to sign something. So court will allow a temporary period. Okay, during this period it will be valid. So on the temporary period கூட court will allow. ஏன்னா sometimes it may be required that he has to sign it. அப்பதான் அதை ப்ரொசீட் பண்ண முடியும். அப்போ போய் கன்விக்ட்னும் போது கான்ட்ராக்டை சைன் பண்ண முடியாதுன்னா, ஸோ அந்த டெம்பரரி பீரியடுக்கு அதை நல்லிஃபை பண்ணுவாங்க. பரோல்னு சொல்லலாம். பரோல்னா டெம்பரரி பீரியட் வெளில விடுறது. They can come out for multiple purpose. One of the purpose can be to sign the documents, which the court will allow specifically. Insolvent. An insolvent is a person who is not capable of repaying his debts and whose assets are not sufficient to meet his liabilities. Okay. And okay, when you are going to be declared as an insolvent, whatever assets you may have with you will go to a person called official receiver or assignee. Make a note. The assets of a person declared insolvent will be vested or transferred to official receiver or assignee. Official receiver or assignee. Clear? Any doubt? இதெல்லாம் terminology This is the official person, government person, with whom the property of an insolvent person will remain for executing documents and all that. So when a person is declared insolvent, all his assets, liabilities, everything will be handled by this guy. He'll only settle it. இப்போ ஐபிசி கோட்னு ஒன்று இருக்கு, இன்சால்வென்சி அண்ட் பேங்க்ரப்சி கோட் அப்படின்னு ஒன்று வந்திருக்கு. So that's a very important enactment which has come to solve all these insolvency issues. So good initiative by the government. முன்னாடி என்ன ஆகும்னா இன்சால்வென்ட் ஆனால் அப்படியே போயிடும், எல்லாம் லோனுக்கு வராது. Bank, they would have given loan, they have not got back the loan. But now they have brought in this IBC, wherein there will be agencies which will try to recover some money, revive it, and do whatever. Okay. And the next one, foreign sovereign and ambassadors. This is the last category. Foreign sovereigns and ambassadors are those who belong to foreign country and they are in India. They can enter into contract, no problem. But nobody can file a case against them without government approval. That's a very interesting point. Foreign sovereigns and ambassadors, who are they? For example, in Chennai, you have an American consulate. If you want to go to US, you have to go to the consulate to get your visa. Correct? And in this case, the officials who are sitting over there, they are all from America, US. And they are all referred to as foreign sovereigns. They are representing the country. Not all foreign citizens are sovereigns and ambassadors. The people who represent the country in some form or other, they are all called foreign sovereign and ambassadors. So they can enter into normal contract, they have powers, but they cannot be sued. Nobody can file a case against them without authority or approval from the government. So no case can be filed against them without approval or authority from government. Clear? So these are all the people who are not eligible to enter into contract, disqualified from entering into contract. Any doubt? All of you clear? I'll ask you some MCQ questions now. Kindly answer. The contract by an idiot is A, voidable. A contract by an idiot is A, voidable. B, enforceable. C, invalid. D, void ab initio. A contract by an idiot is A, voidable, enforceable, invalid, void ab initio.
Void ab initio, sir.
By an idiot. An idiot. So Srinidhi, you are saying it's what? Void ab initio.
Yes, sir.
A contract by an idiot is A, voidable, B, enforceable, C, invalid, D, void ab initio. Enforceable. A contract by an idiot is dash, voidable, enforceable, invalid, void ab initio. Void ab initio. Void எழுதிக்கலாம் நீங்க ஆக்சுவலா. Voidable, enforceable, invalid and void ab initio. Invalidக்கும் void ab initioக்கும் என்ன டிஃபரன்ஸ்? Invalidக்கும் void ab initioக்கும் என்ன டிஃபரன்ஸ்? Invalid means okay, not a valid contract. Void ab initio. No, voidableங்கிறது வேற மீனிங். ஃப்ரீ கன்சென்ட் மிஸ் ஆனா நான் அடிக்கடி சொல்லியிருக்கேன். I'll tell you, if free consent is missing, then it is voidable. What is free consent? When it is missing, coercion, undue influence, fraud, misrepresentation. In these four circumstances, only free consent is missing. Then only it is voidable. So you can safely ignore voidable in this case. You can eliminate it. Voidable is not the answer. Enforceable is not the answer. It's between invalid and void ab initio. Actually, both are actually correct. You know, invalid contract, see, I'll tell you, after formation of a contract, if it becomes invalid, it becomes an invalid contract சொல்லுவோம். But contract பண்ண முடியாதுன்னா void ab initio. ஏன்னா இடியட்டோட கான்ட்ராக்டே என்டர் பண்ணக்கூடாது. அப்ப நீங்க என்டர் பண்ணீங்கன்னா அது என்ன? Void ab initio. The answer is void ab initio. So next question. Clear or not? So this is how you need to identify the right answer carefully. So very subtle difference will be there. Next, the case law, you can make a note so that you can refer it at home later also. The case law, Mohiri Bibi versus Dharmadas Ghosh, deals with A, communication of offer. Any doubts? In the case law, Mohiri Bibi versus Dharmadas Ghosh deals with A, communication of offer. B, communication of acceptance. C, fraud. D, agreement with the minor. The answer is agreement with the minor is answer. Good. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Which one of the following is correct? Which one of the following is correct? A minor can act as a principal. Which one of the following is correct? A minor can act as a principal. B, a minor cannot act as an agent. A minor cannot act as an agent. C, a minor can act as an agent. D, none of the above. So that's the right answer. Which one of the following is correct? Na C, correct? Srinidhi, correct?
Yes, sir.
Sorry. So the answer option is C. I'll repeat. Which of the following is correct? A, minor can act as a principal. B, a minor cannot act as an agent. C, a minor can act as an agent. D, none of the above. So the answer is C. Which of the following persons are not competent to contract? Which of the following persons are not competent to contract? 1, minors. 2, persons of unsound mind. 3, persons disqualified by law. D, all of the above. Very good. So D, all of the above is the answer. Yeah, correct? Capacity to contract has been defined under section dash. Section 11, sure? 10. 10 or 11? Section 11 talks about what? See, I gave you two sections. Section 10 talks about what? 11 talks about what? Section 10 talks about, let me read that section 10 for you again. An essential ingredient to a valid contract is that the contracting parties must be competent to contract. That is section 10. Section 11 says that every person is competent to contract. So, the question of capacity or competency to contract is defined under defined under, correct. So, ரொம்ப important, interesting. இங்க தான் நம்ம differentiate பண்ணுவோம். Section 10 talks about an essential ingredient is just a statement. Section 10 is just a statement. That is, it only tells overall, only a person who is competent can enter. Whereas what is defined, capacity to contract has been defined under section 11. So 11 is the answer. So carefully நம்ம பார்த்து answer பண்ணோம். Next, for necessaries supplied to a minor, for necessaries supplied to a minor, a minor is personally liable. B, his parents are liable. C, his estate is liable. His estate is liable. D, the contract is valid under Indian law. Yes, the answer is option C. His estate is liable. Estate nale enartham? Property. Estate means property. Next, contract for benefit of a minor is a contract for the benefit of a minor is A, valid, B, void. A contract for the benefit of a minor is A, valid, B, void. Valid.
Valid.
Contract, yes, for the benefit of a minor is valid. Which of the following persons do not fall under the category of persons of unsound mind? A, drunkards. B, lunatics. C, idiots. D, blind person. D, blind person. Blind person. It's very simple. Which of the following persons do not fall under the category of unsound mind? So, blind person. Okay. So, I think these are all the types of MCQs which you can look forward in the exam. So, sometimes rarely they may ask you such one mark question. Even for, you look at the recent exam, in fact, yesterday we discussed this. This is a 7-mark question. CA Foundation, May 22 exams, May, June. The general rule is that agreement made without consideration is void. State the exceptions to this general rule as per the Indian Contract Act 1872. The general rule is no consideration, no contract, but what are the exceptions? We discussed this in detail yesterday only. So it's how many mark question? So interestingly, Contract Act la ஒரு direct question இது ஒன்று வந்திருக்கு. பாக்கி எல்லாம் partnership, LLP, Sale of Goods Act. There's one more question on partnership. So Contract Act. Contract Act பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் உங்களுக்கு typical weightage could be, because it's 60 marks for law, 40 marks for business correspondence and reporting. Yeah? So 60 marks for Contract Act, you'll get some 15 marks weightage. Then Partnership, LLP, Companies Act, Sale of Goods Act, அதெல்லாம் வருது. ஸோ நம்ம படிக்க போகிற ஒரு 10 to 15 டாபிக்ஸ் இருக்கு கான்ட்ராக்ட் ஆக்ட்லேயே, அதுக்கே வெயிட்டேஜ் எவ்வளவு? only 15-20 marks, that's all. So we have actually a lot of things to cover in the days to come. So we'll take up the next topic. So we are finishing up this topic today, capacity to contract. The next topic would be free consent. Okay. So kindly go through whatever we have covered so far. For few of the earlier classes, I have put up the video. I'll add you in the group. You can access that. Okay. So உங்களுக்குமே வீடியோ கிளாஸஸ் வந்து என்ன பண்ணிருக்கேன்னா, ஏற்கனவே எடுத்த வீடியோ கிளாஸ் ஃபுல்லாக கொடுத்துருக்கேன். இப்போ எடுக்கிறது அப்பப்போ நான் அப்லோட் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கேன். So kindly spend quality time at home, and for the next 2-3 months, devote more time. உங்க எல்லாருக்குமே நவம்பர் தான் எக்ஸாம். ஓகே. CA ஃபவுண்டேஷன் எல்லாருக்குமே எக்ஸாம் வந்து நவம்பர்ல தான். We are in July. ஜூலைலேருந்து ஆகஸ்ட், செப்டம்பர், அக்டோபர். அக்டோபர் முடிஞ்சாலே உங்களுக்கு என்ன? கவுண்ட் டவுன். அதனால உங்களுக்கு டைம் ஃபுல்லாக யூ ஹேவ் டு ஃபோக்கஸ் ஆன் யுவர் ப்ரிப்பரேஷன். ஸோ அக்டோபர் மிடில் வந்துருதுனாலே உங்களுக்கு அதுக்கப்புறம் இந்த எக்ஸாம் ப்ரெஷர் பில்டப் ஆகும். ஸோ அது வரைக்கும் கம்ஃபர்டபுளாக படிக்கலாம். அக்டோபர் 15th அப்புறம் உங்களுக்கு என்ன? பரீட்சை வருது வந்து அப்போ படிக்கிறத விட அந்த ஃபியர் அண்ட் இதுதான் ஜாஸ்தியாக இருக்கும். அப்போ எஃபெக்டிவ்னஸ் இருக்கும், இல்லைன்னு சொல்ல, பட் இப்போ வந்து நீங்கள் லீஷராக என்ஜாய் பண்ணி படிக்கணும். ஸோ டோன்ட் மிஸ் டைம், டோன்ட் வேஸ்ட் யுவர் டைம். நல்லா ஒரு நாளைக்கு 8 to 10 hours டெய்லி படிங்க. 10 hours படிச்சா போதும். If you can, as I said, balance 14 hours at your disposal. தூங்குங்க, சாப்பிடுங்க, சினிமா போங்க, மொபைல் பாருங்க, ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸோட என்ன வேணா பண்ணுங்க. பட் அந்த 10 hours you have to dedicate for studies. Compulsory. So tomorrow, let me see if you could plan a class, or I'll be meeting you on Friday for the accounts class. Okay. So நாளைக்கு வந்து இருக்கிறது doubtful தான். Friday we'll have a accounts class, and Saturday you will have a class on logical reasoning and what is that? Business correspondence and reporting. So உங்களுக்கு Saturday class applicable. Accounts class only for CA Foundation. CCT கிடையாது. A message for WhatsApp la, kindly keep track of the messages in WhatsApp. So mostly I'll be meeting you again on Friday morning. Okay. Clear? So take a break one day and come back on Friday. Saturday onwards this week, evening 4 to 6 will be max and stats. Again only for CA, not for CC. Okay, I'll be messaging you to make sure that you see the messages and attend the classes accordingly. If there's any doubt, please let me know. Okay, take care. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Take care.